Hi there, so welcome back to the channel and welcome to the final and last solution to the history of the Nobel Prize winner. We are trying to visualize the Nobel Prize data from 1901 all the way to 2023. So, at the past couple of two live streams, we've been trying to solve the challenge and we have a couple of challenges with the coding, with just a little bit of error here and there. So, finally, in this live stream, we'll be walking you through the final solution to this code on the DataCamp platform. So without further ado, let's jump back to learning and visualize this final uh, answer with this line of code. I'll just start sharing my screen really quick. So I'll just go ahead to the visualizing the history of Nobel Prize winners uh, challenge that we are trying to solve. So if I try to submit, also I have my code here in my Jupyter notebook. I always love to visualize it on the DataCamp platform to solve the challenge on the DataCamp platform and also do that in my own local environment on Jupyter notebook right here. So we got similar answer, similar scenario, similar line of code. We've tested it in both interface. We're actually getting the same result. So if I try to submit one more time, you should be able to see where the error is coming from. So it is still loading, as it is still saving here. We'll just zoom in a little bit. Okay, so you can see all the code. So the guide we're to follow is to follow these questions from 1 to 5 to solve the challenge. So this is the first line of code where we imported the required libraries. So we'll be making use of pandas, cbom and numpy. Then we get connected to the data set to read the data sets. So we read the data set, and this is the view of our data set from 1901 all the way to 2023. And these are the column headers of data set. So the first question was to identify, load the data set and find the most common gender and birth country. So the most common gender is the male gender. We got that we're actually filtering down to the sex column. If you go to the sex column here, where is the sex column? This is the sex column. We're looking at the highest gender of Nobel Prize winners over the last couple of decades. You can see then finally we discovered that it is the male. So I just compare that with my final code here. Okay. We say top gender, the Nobel data frame, the sex column, or we could just use dot valid count. Okay. A valid count. Then make use of index of 0. Index of 0. So we should have the same answer. If I try to run the code, I have to launch, I have to go back all the way from there. Okay, and connect back to the data frame one more time. Then we can just run this line of code again. So you can see, so we know that the most top gender or the most common gender is male gender. We understood that already. So now we need to do the top value for birth country, which is going to be the United States. But let's double check our line of code again. The birth country. Now let's double check. So get top values for the birth country. So we're going to use same thing. Top country equals to the Nobel data frame. Then the birth country column. Dot value counter is the function. You can just index of 0 also. So I use index, I use ID max there, which is going to give you same results though. Then let's print top country. So index of is going to be returning just one result, top country, the first top country. That's what the index of 0 is doing there. In this instance, I was returning the top 10 earlier before. Let's see. Oh, index object is not callable. Okay. Oh, I'm using the wrong. Rather than using square bracket, I'm using parentheses there, circular brackets. Oh, they said top country. Okay, top 10. Oh, mine is top country, not top top 10. Because the top country is United States of America. Earlier before, I was actually returning the top 10. So I show you my line of code here. Let me just compare these two line of code. Then we have the data here. See the top gender here. We're using the mode in this instance, and we say mode 0 to return top gender, which is male. You can see the difference between the code. This code is quite different, just little differences at the end. This one is using index.index. This one is using dot mode, which is the highest. So mode is the highest uh, value in a set of numbers. Price is using top 10 countries, because I'm returning top 10. I could just do dot head, just return the first four, which is still the same thing. Now let's move on to the next line of code, which says, so we've answered this number one question. So the number two question is now identify the decade with the highest ratio of US US born. So initially, if I try to submit my answer, where I'm getting my error is within uh number three and number two answer. This 2020 result here, which I'm getting the correct answer. This side here. But let's just double check all the code from the beginning over and over again. Okay. Identify the decade with the highest ratio of US bonus. Let's see. They're saying identify the decade with the highest ratio of US bonus. So the first thing we need to do is to calculate the proportion of US bonus per decade. We're going to identify the decade with the highest ratio of US bonus. We're going to flag for US bonus in this case. So is US born as in Nobel birth country equals to the United States, which is correct. So I'm saying, is this person from US? Then look at the birth country. Is it equal to United States of America? So we are going to get this new column, true or false. So a new column is going to be created here. This is starts showing us either true or false record. Then the next one is to the decade. Create a decade column. So this is a decade column. Then we look for the proportion of US winners using the go by US ratio by decade, go by decade, index is false. Okay, so if we use another line of code here, let's use this line of code. Okay, so this should still give us the same answer. Then find the decade with the highest ratio. The next is to identify the decade with the maximum decade USA equals to. Okay, we can just use this. Okay, let's use this line of code here. This is going to be US ratio by decade. This from this line of code here. And this equals to, oh, let's hold on. What's the error here now? Okay, let's do that. We need to use the data frame, US decade, US ratio by decade. So the whole answer we're still going to get is 2000. And finally, and this line of code here. So it's going to give us the decade for that. Then the next is to just declare. Let's get rid of this line of code here. I'll run the code. Let's see what we have here. Oh, let's get type on the error. Fix and explain. So I said we got same results 2000 as earlier as before. And this is my former code for this. This former code here. This one right here. All the way from here. I find the decade with the highest that you can see. When we created a new decade, it's US born column. All the way from here. You can see it's US born column. You can see this. We're having false, false, either true or false. This is what this line of code is doing for us here. Then we created a new decade column. This is our decade column right after it here. Then from that, we group by the decade column and this US born column. And we find the decade with the highest ratio just by dividing. So we've got similar results using another line of code, which is cool. You can see 2000 to 2000. So ratio by decade. You can actually just get rid of this one, though. Let's leave it. I'm going to get this error. Okay, it got it. Where's my maximum ratio? Mm, I think I've deleted that line of code. But let's move on. The next question is find the decade and category with the highest proportion of female. This is where an error is coming from. If I try to submit, so I'm getting this error. You can see maximum female dick should be 2020, which is 2020 here. Let's troubleshoot this part of code and try to submit again. The first thing to do also is to create a flag, a column to know female winners and the decade column. So we did that here. Is female winners. We go to the sex column equals to female and the no, decade column and the decade column. I think the first thing is to do. So since we look for the female winners, we know the female winners. Then the next thing is to create a decade column. Or if you just make use of the previous decade column that we've created before. Okay, let's do this again. So we know that we have a column to know the female winners. Then the next is to know the proportion of female winners compared to male winners. So next is to know the proportion of female winners to male winners. So we're going to go by the decade and category column, and index equals to false dot female winners. So it's going to change this to is female. Is female, that's mean there. Then find the decade and category with the highest proportion of female winners. So let's clear this line of code here. Let's do that again. So now we find a decade. So we can carry with proportion of female winners. So let's say maximum female decade and category equals to proportion of female winners. Then is female equals to is female data frame there. Then finally we're going to create a dictionary for for it. So the dictionary, maximum female dictionary, maximum female, decade category, decade dot values, and maximum decade category, category dot values. If we print the maximum female dict, that's what we have here. You can see. So we're supposed to have just two answers, 2020 and the category. While in my previous answer, I was returning multiple. Let me scroll a little bit. So my mistake I was doing here was returning decade with it. I'm returning the decade and the year and the category and the literature and the female ratio. That was my mistake from earlier before. That's why the answer was not accepted. Oh, I understood now. That was my former mistake there. I was supposed to return the decade and the category. Now, if I try to submit again, this should be correct. This is find the first woman to win the Nobel Prize. This is finding the first woman to win the Nobel Prize. These are details, the year, the category, the name, and so on. Hopefully it gets the answer is correct. Now let me submit again. Let's see what we have here. I've not created a variable name, first woman name, you see. So now we've been able to solve this. I need to create a variable called first woman name. Then this is the last one, first woman name and first woman category. But we know that this is the first woman name and this is the first woman category. So this called I call it first woman dict here. Okay. Now let's make it better. Let's make it better. So you could just pause to look at the line of code if you're trying to solve yours and get the solution. So finding the first woman to win the Nobel Prize, I'm going to flag for column female winners as usual, or just make use of the former variable we've created before. Female, female winners is female that we created before. To make it simpler, that's the best option. First woman name, first woman category. What if I change this to first woman name? Let me just change this variable name. Hopefully it's going to accept that. Let's run the line of code. Okay, successful. Let's try to submit again. First woman name should be a string variable. So my mistake was making it a dictionary. It's supposed to be a string variable. Now let's do all of this from scratch again. So first, female column. Then filter the data frame for female winners. Minimum rows, you can say. Okay, let's clean all of this then. So you could just say to copy a line of code. So the Nobel women with female winners. So we have is female here. So ours is female using the previous data frame to make it easier. Want to know those that are female. Then the minimum row, the number woman data frame, the year equals to the number woman year. That's minimum. First woman name, the first woman category. Now let's see. So the first woman winning the Nobel Prize was Maria Curie in the category of physics. You see now, so we just inputted this first woman name here that we got from the full name and the first woman category. Let's try to submit again. We should have a challenge with this last part here. This list here, exactly. Now let's solve this last challenge also. Where did you make a mistake here? We want to determine the repeat winners. So that is determine repeat winners. Count the number of times each winner has won. Then select those with count of 2 or more, saving the full name as a list called repeats. Okay, now let's do this one again. So in this instance, we were supposed to return just the name and the category. The mistake I made was returning the old name, the old data frame complete. I was returning it in a dictionary, which is where the error was coming from. Now I want to count their full name, winner counts, the full name, the value count. We're going to count their full name. Then we're going to see the repeats. So repeats is going to be repeats. That should be equal to winner counts here from here. Underscore counts. I'm going to use subsetting in this instance. So that will be greater than and equal to 2 dot index. So finally it's going to be repeats. So it will be equal to lists, open brackets, repeats. Now just going to print the repeat lists. Let's see what we're going to have here. Ooh, there's a mistake somewhere here. Oh, it's supposed to be winner counts. I didn't include the essay. Let's see. Voila. So we have our answers. Yeah, I think we got similar results in this instance. You can see repeat Nobel Prize winners. The first one was this is another line of code entirely, quite different from what the solution I found now. But same different line of code because similar results. You can see Leo Skal was the first one, John Badin, Frederick Sanger, Marie Curie, an office of similar thing that we got similar results but different line of code. Now let's submit one last time. You have not created a variable name repeat list or common. This is repeat list now. What do you want me to create again? Repeat list. Is it not saying this last solution here? It's not picking up this last solution. Wow. This can be funny at times. A variable name, let me see. Store the full names in a list named repeat list. The one you have here. Oh, come on. This is not funny. Why is the DataCamp doing like this? So I run everything again. Now let's submit and check back again. Oh, now how do I create a variable name repeat list? What do you have here? Hmm. Now let's troubleshoot it one last time. So let's see what we can come up with. Trying to troubleshoot this so I can get this final solution. Now let's try another line of code finally. Now let's run this place. So we got same result, right? Same result. Now let's submit and see. Ooh, now we need it. So it was not seeing my repeat list earlier before. Let me see the error of code I've using. It was saying I've not created a variable name repeat list. So we actually created repeat lists from here based on these repeats that we created before. Ooh, so I was making a mistake from my spelling. Mm. Oh, my mistake was using double ES repeat list. That's quite funny. Congratulations, you have completed the project. So that's the final solution to this challenge on the DataCamp platform. If you want me to share the line of code with you, just let me know in the comment section. I will drop a text file with the complete or all the line of code you use to solve this challenge. I also love to be exploring this data set beyond this line of code. I'll probably use Excel, Power BI, and SQL, definitely Python, to try it again. Voila. Mm, Great, great challenge. Mm, Save your project forever. Has it not been saved? Let's see if this can be saved forever. I can always come back to it. Successfully saved. I think I have other project that I've saved there. Interesting. I have a couple of projects I've saved here also. I have a lot here. Oh, interesting. Okay, so that's good. This is actually the data lab. I'll just close this one here. I have it here already. Interesting. So we've completed, finished So I'm moving to the next lesson, which is, I think this is EDA in Python. Interesting. Let's go back to the Learn tab. So we've completed this Netflix movie. Okay, that was the last one. So I click on this now. We should be done. So if completed introduction to Python, intermediate Python, investigating Netflix movies, done. Data manipulation with pandas. We did this exploring NYC public school text results. We looked at joining data with pandas, introduction to statistics in Python, introduction to data visualization with Seaborn, then finally this visualizing the history of the Nobel Prize winner. Our next lesson is bonus. Is this a course? Skill assessment. Oh, let's see what we have here. Okay, go for the gain mastery with the optional material. Let's see what we have here. Probably be doing this on the next live stream. We have a couple of courses. But this is an assessment. Okay, I have to attempt it twice. Oh, interesting. Then we do this later. Probably we do this on the next live stream to see how we can solve it. So this is our skill assessment, data manipulation with Python. Then we move to exploratory data analysis in Python, analyzing crime of interest in next projects, sampling in Python, hypothesis testing in Python, the final project. Ooh, nice one. Okay, so that'll be the live stream for today. I hope you enjoyed this final solution to the history of Nobel Prize winners in Python. The data set will be linked under the YouTube description, so do make sure to download them so you can also practice and get your hands dirty and improve your Python skills. As usual, I'll see you in the next video on the channel on the next day live stream. Have a wonderful rest of the day.